The Mujahideen who had fought the Soviet Union and Afghanistan returned home and brought with them the terrorist skills they had learned in the fight against the Soviets, the belief that they could beat anyone if they were willing to die for their cause, and contacts with other individuals and terrorist groups that had been forged in Afghanistan. That confidence and capability was directed at those who were perceived to be a threat to their vision of Islam, whether it was their own government, the United States, or Israel. Several factors allowed al-Qaeda to emerge out of this environment as the preeminent organization and serve in many ways as the ideological and practical force unifying these individuals and groups. First of all, bin Laden and his followers possessed a utopian ideology based on a vision of the old notion of a single caliphate. This vision, while extreme, resonated among many Muslims and was attractive because it was built on a foundation of deeply ingrained cultural and religious norms and sought to redress deeply felt historical wrongs. Muslims who felt victimized by their governments, had some claim to being victims of colonialism, or felt their societies drifting into corruption could identify with bin Laden and his vision.
At 18 minutes after noon on February 26, 1993, a huge bomb went off beneath the two towers of the World Trade Center. This was not a suicide attack. The terrorists parked the truck bomb with a timing device on level B2 underground garage, then departed. The ensuing explosion opened a hole 7 stories up. 6 people died. More than 1,000 were injured. An FBI agent at the scene described the relatively low number of fatalities as a miracle. President Bill Clinton ordered the National Security Council to coordinate the response. Government agencies swung into action to find the culprits. The Counterterrorism Center, located at the CIA, cornbread its files and queried sources around the world. The National Security Agency, the huge Defense Department Signals Collection Agency, ramped up its common communications intercept network and searched its databases for clues. The New York field office of the FBI took control of the local investigation and, in the end, set a pattern for future management of terrorist incidents. 4 features of this episode have significance for the story of 9/11. First, the bombing signaled a new terrorist challenge, one whose rage and malice had no limit. Ramzi Yousef, the Sunni extremist who planted the bomb, said later that he had hoped to kill 250,000 people. Second, the FBI and the Justice Department did excellent work investigating the bombing. Within days, the FBI identified a truck remnant as part of a rental van reported stolen in Jersey City the day before the bombing. Mohammed Salama, who had rented the truck and reported it stolen, kept calling the rental office to get his $400 deposit. The FBI arrested him there on March 4th, 1993. In short order, the Bureau had several plotters in custody, including Nadel Ayad, an engineer who had acquired chemicals for the bomb, and Mahmoud Abalima, who had helped mix the chemicals. The FBI identified another co-conspirator, Ahmed Ajaj, who had been arrested by immigration authorities at John F. Kennedy International Airport in September of 1992 and charged with document fraud. The traveling companion was Ramzi Yousef, who had entered with fraudulent documents but claimed political asylum and was admitted. It quickly became clear that Yousef had been a central player in the attack. He had fled to Pakistan immediately after the bombing and would remain at large for nearly 2 years. The arrests of Salama, Abalima, and Ayad led the FBI to the Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn, where a central figure was Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman, an extremist Sunni Muslim cleric who had moved to the United States from Egypt in 1990. In speeches and writings, the sightless Rahman, often called the blind sheikh, preached the message of Sayyid Qutb's millstones, characterizing the United States as the oppressor of Muslims worldwide and asserting that it was the religious duty to fight against God's enemies. An FBI informant learned of a plan to bomb New York major landmarks, including the Holland and Lincoln tunnels. Disrupting this landmarks plot, the FBI in June of 1993 arrested Rahman and various co-defendants. As a result of the investigations and arrests, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York prosecuted and convicted multiple individuals, including Ajaj, Salama, Ayad, Abalima, the Blind Sheikh, and Ramzi Yousef for crimes related to the World Trade Center bombing and other plots. An unfortunate consequence of this superb investigation and prosecutorial efforts was that it created an impression that the law enforcement system was well equipped to cope with terrorism. Neither President Clinton, his principal advisors, Congress, nor the news media felt promoted or prompted until later to press the operation and the question of whether the procedures that put the blind Sheikh Ramzi Yousef behind bars would really protect Americans against the new virus of which these individuals were just the first symptoms. Third, the successful use of the legal system to address the first World Trade Center bombing had the side effect of obscuring the need to examine the character and extent of the new threat facing the United States. The trials did not bring the bin Laden network to the attention of the public and policymakers. The FBI assembled, and the U.S. Attorney's Office put forward some evidence showing that the men in the dock were not the only plotters. Materials taken from a judge indicated that the plot or plots were hatched at one or near the Chaldean camp, which was a terrorist training camp on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. A judge had left Texas in April of '92 to go there to learn how to construct bombs. He had met Ramzi Yousef in Pakistan, where they discussed bombing targets in the United States, and assembled a terrorist kit that included bomb-making manuals, operations guidance, videotapes advocating terrorist action against the United States, and false identification documents. Yousef was captured in Pakistan following the discovery by police in the Philippines in January of 1995 of the Manila air plot, which envisioned placing bombs on board a dozen trans-Pacific airliners and setting them off simultaneously. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Ramzi Yousef's uncle, then located in Qatar, was a fellow plotter of Yousef's in the Manila air plot, had also wired him some money prior to the World Trade Center bombing. The U.S. Attorney obtained an indictment against Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in January 1996, but an official in the government of Qatar probably warned him about it. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed evaded capture and stayed at large to play the central part in the 9/11 attacks. The law enforcement process is concerned with providing and proving the guilt of persons apprehended and charged. Investigators and prosecutors could not present all the evidence of possible involvement of individuals other than those charged, although they continued to pursue such investigations, planning or hoping for later prosecutions. The process was meant by its nature to mark for the public the events as finished, case solved, justice done. It was not designed to ask if the events might be harbingers of worse to come, nor did it allow for aggregating and analyzing facts to see if they could provide clues to terrorist tactics, more generally, methods of entry and finance, and mode of operation inside the United States. Fourth, although the bombing heightened awareness of new terrorist dangers, successful prosecutions contributed to widespread underestimation of the threat. The government's attorneys stressed the seriousness of the crimes and put forward evidence of Yousef's technical ingenuity. Yet the public image that persisted was not of clever Yousef, but of stupid Salama going back again and again